Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm playing with a mixture of some of the vanGogh granulating watercolors with some of my palette, and I picked the colors from these swatch that I've made, and I use cobalt turquoise with the dusk green, I use Quinachridone red with the dusk pink, I'm using cadmium yellow with dusk pink, and ultramarine blue with dusk green. And here are the colors that I've mixed together, and I added also some more pastel colors. These are all from White Nights. I was inspired by a Skillshare class I watched from Suzanne Allard. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Finally, my painting is completely different than the one she did in her class, but I was very inspired after watching her class. So in case you're interested, I will write her name in the video description, and you will also find a link to Skillshare in case you don't have a subscription. You just can try it out. I believe it's 2 weeks for free and can see if you like it. They have so many watercolor classes and a lot of other art classes. I enjoy watching some of their tutorials from time to time, and it also inspires me if I am sometimes not so inspired. I start sketching out my painting for today, and I'm starting just very loosely with some wildflowers, and I believe I used it's a black water-soluble Derwent Inktens. Maybe it's the India ink, but I'm not 100% sure, but it's not that important. And here I'm just adding in some green scribbly lines. I've made myself some swatch cards of the colors I plan to use today, because I wanted to use this palette not only for this painting, and I also don't know if I will use all the colors. I can tell you that I won't use all the colors in this palette, but I like how they work together and how they look together, and I just started with this palette, and while I was painting I decided to not use all of them. I'm starting with one of the pastel colors. I can't tell you which one exactly that is. It's one from the White Nights, more opaque colors. It might be something that is called Sandstorm, or is it Dune? I really don't know, but it's not important. It's just a very light brownish yellow color. And also here I'm working with a mop brush and in a very loose way. By the way, the swatch cards are made with a stamp set that is available in my store. It's called Swatch It, and it has some more stamps that are particularly for making color swatches, and I don't use this that often. Of course, I make all my swatches with this stamp set, but I don't do that many swatches. My paper sheet is buckling, so I decided to just tape it down a little. By the way, the paper I'm using today is the Canson XL watercolor paper. I wish I didn't pick that, because it's not good for watercolors. It's such a bad watercolor paper, I think. It's great for stamping. I don't know why I picked that one. I really don't know, and I wish I would have used a different paper, maybe a cotton paper. But okay, I used this one, and maybe I will do a similar painting on a better paper in the future. I'm starting with the red mixture. It's the Quinachridone red from Mijello Mission Gold mixed with the dusk pink from vanGogh. And whenever you mix these granulating colors with another color, you always have to mix it before you use it on your paper, because the pigments start separating in their palette. So you always have to mix it before you pick up the paint. And also the granulating effect is not that good on this paper, and that's also a reason why I shouldn't have picked this paper. It's just too smooth to make the granulation visible, and it's also not absorbent enough. The watercolors just lay on top of the paper and they don't really sink into it, and it's just an example for a bad watercolor paper. As always, I'm blending the colors into the background by using just some water and a wet brush. And by the way, the brush I'm using now, it's the DaVinci Casaneo. It's my go-to brush. I really like the bristles. The only thing I don't really like is that it hasn't got a fine tip, and it's really hard to make some pointed leaves where you have a really fine start point, and that's the reason why I now switch brushes. And this is a Kazalon brush. It's from an online shop here in Germany, and it's their house brand. I will write the names of the brushes I'm using today in the description. As always, my video is in real time, so you have the chance to paint along. This is something that I personally don't like when I watch a tutorial, that often things are speed up and I can't paint along. And that's also something I really like about Skillshare, that all the classes I have watched so far have been in real time, or most of them. By the way, the brown color I'm using here is the mixture of the cadmium yellow with the dusk pink. While everything is still wet, I now scribble in with a Derwent Inktens pencil. You can use any water-soluble pencil you have. And I believe I used kind of a ochre color. And now I'm going in with a water-soluble graphite. It's not that important that it's water-soluble in this case. And that's my first layer, and I let this dry. And here I come back when it's dry with a second layer, and I just decided to add some more tiny details. And I'm working with kind of a rigger brush here, and it's a really fine brush, and unfortunately I'm holding it so straight to the paper that you can see it very good. But that's the way the brush worked best for me. It has pretty long bristles in comparison to a normal watercolor brush, and as it's such a fine brush, it needs the long bristles because then it holds more water or more paint, and you can paint a little bit longer with it than you could do this with a normal sized fine brush. So I'm just throwing in some scribbly leafy details in the background to give this piece more depth and dimension. And I am not 100% sure which color I'm using, but I believe it's the same brown mixture I've used just before. And here I decided I need some more intense colors, and I mixed another color combination just to get a darker color and a darker red. And the colors I've mixed here was the crimson with the dusk pink. So it's similar to the one with the Quinachridone red. It's just more intense and vibrant. And here I'm just using a normal smaller round brush. It's a really cheap one from Amazon. It has a really nice fine pointy tip, but what I don't like about it that it doesn't hold much paint, so you always have to go back in and add more paint to your brush. I'm also adding more depth to the flowers so they get more dimension. That's it about watercolors. You have to build layers and you have to add to it to create dimension. You can't get depth and much interest with just one layer. It will always look very boring. Here I make some more marks, just some tiny dots with the light pink color from the pastel colors. And after this was dry, I come in back with more darker color for the center of the bigger flowers. And I'm really sorry for the strange lighting, but I think the camera picks the black brush and use this as a reference, and then it just makes everything super light. I decided I need more darker intense flowers to build up more depth, and here I'm just making some smaller flowers also with the Carmine and Dusk pink mixture. I picked the fine detail brush to add some stamps to these flowers I've just painted. This is also something that makes a painting more interesting and gives it more dimension. Not only the higher contrast in values, it's also the contrast between blurry areas and detailed areas. So I have some blurry color in the background, and here I'm adding some really detailed marks in the foreground. I also decided to add some more leafy shapes in this color to the bottom of the painting, also to add more contrast and more depth. Everything is very pinkish so far, and for me it's time to bring in a contrasting color. Of course, it's the preference of you if you like that or not, but I definitely need to have also a contrast in the colors. So I decided I'm picking the bluish mixture, and it's the ultramarine blue that was mixed with the dusk green. I don't add too much of that color, just a hint of it with some leaves. I decided to add some more abstract marks to the painting with the bluish color. And this painting was not something that was super quick. It was not something that took me very long. As you can see, it's real time and I use about 20 minutes. But I always had to let this dry in between, and I really was not always sure what to add next. So it was kind of a bit more bigger project, but it was very relaxing, and I so enjoyed this this building of the painting and to create the scene, and it was a lot of fun and so relaxing and satisfying to see the outcome of it. Finally, I decided I will add some gold, and I picked an acrylic gold paint. This is one from DecoArt Media, but you can use any gold paint you have, even a gouache or the watercolor gold. The watercolor in gold will not be as opaque as the acrylic. And you can see some pinkish color on my screen here because I used that for another painting, so this is nothing I have in this painting. And I decided to use the rest of the paint mixed with a little bit more water to make some splatters. After everything was completely dry, I went in with my white Posca marker and added some centers to my flowers, and unfortunately also my camera picked up the black end of the marker and gave me a really light video screen. I'm very sorry for that. I hope it's not too bad for your eyes. I just make the centers of the flowers white. I add some tinier dots to the bigger flowers and one dot to the smaller flowers. And I'm also adding some white dots to the blue circles. And that was my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit different than usually. And as always, you will find photos of the painting on my blog, and it's linked up in the video description. I hope you will see us next time. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye!